Krishna. I'm going to do 64. And so you have to give me love. That's the deal, okay? I mean, that's right there. That's what everybody says. If I chant 64, I get love. So it has to happen. And Prabhupada's saying, you can't force Krishna to give you love by doing something, because everything happens when he gives it. Or you can't force your spiritual master, or you can't force Prabhupada. Prabhupada, I distributed so many books. I want 10 mercy points, 10 kripa points. I deserve 10 kripa points. It doesn't work that way. But when Krishna is pleased by your attitude, when Krishna is pleased by your service, done with the right attitude, then he gives mercy. So I think ultimately we can say, we're not going to get anything in Krishna consciousness, whether it's taste or detachment or advancement or whatever it is we want, without the mercy of the Guru. And that we'll get everything if we get his mercy. So if we please Prabhupada, naturally there's going to be a taste. That's an indication that we're making progress in Krishna consciousness. If there's a taste, oh, that's a good sign, I'm getting better. You're sick, you go to the doctor, he gives you some medicine, you come back in a week, he says, how do you feel? And you say, well, this has subsided, that has subsided, I feel this, I feel that. And the doctor says, oh, that's good, that's a sign you're recovering. So the sign that you're recovering from the material disease is taste, it's natural. Now, something interesting, I heard a story, a beautiful story. Prabhupada was telling one of his disciples about Krishna, like what Krishna's like and his leelas and so forth. And then Prabhupada, he turns to her very softly, said, do you see that? Do you see what I'm saying? Can you see this? What's she going to say? He said, Prabhupada, I don't see it, but I want to see it. And Prabhupada said, I want to show it to you. So the point is, the Guru wants to give mercy. Mahaprabhu they all want to give mercy. So all we have to do is do the right thing and we'll get the mercy. And then we'll see Krishna in the holy name. We'll become attracted. But if we try without pleasing the Guru, without pleasing Prabhupada, it doesn't work. There's a beautiful story. This sannyasi, he did Ganga Parikrama, did the whole Ganga, did the whole thing. Maybe it took a year, I don't know. But the problem was, he did it without the blessings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He asked Bhaktisiddhanta, can I do it? And Bhaktisiddhanta said, no, don't do it, it's not necessary. Because Bhaktisiddhanta always focused on preaching, give Krishna consciousness to others. Prabhupada also always focused on it. If there was a question, should we do this or should we preach? The answer was preach, go out and preach. So after he got back from the parikrama, then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta took away his sannyas for disobeying his order. So what he did in and of itself was Krishna conscious, right? Doing Ganga Parikrama, he probably chanted 64 rounds a day, but it displeased his Guru. There's a funny story, maybe you've heard. Once Shrutakirti, he went to Mangalarti. And then Prabhupada sent someone to get him, and he took him out of Mangalarti, and Prabhupada said, do not ever go to Mangalarti. Some devotees hear that story and they say, oh, I wish Prabhupada gave me that instruction. Hare Krishna. So Prabhupada said, you're my servant, you have to stay with me, you can't go. Kind of funny story, don't ever go to Mangalarti. There's hundreds, maybe thousands of letters where Prabhupada says, go to Mangalarti, have Mangalarti every day. And now he's saying to his disciple, don't go to Mangalarti. And if his disciple goes to Mangalarti, which he's telling all his disciples to do, this disciple will not get any mercy. On another occasion, Shrutakirti asked Prabhupada, can I go out on book distribution? The book distributors are so inspired, they're so enlivened. Can I go out? And Prabhupada said, yes, but without my blessings. So same idea. You're my servant. Your service is to be with me 24 hours a day. So yes, you can go out on book distribution everyone else will get the mercy, but you won't get it because you're disobeying my order. So we can understand that what gives mercy to one by doing something, if that same thing is not what Prabhupada wants another to do, then you won't get the mercy. So many of Prabhupada's young disciples took sannyas, they gave up their families, they got so much mercy. But there were other devotees who wanted to do the same thing. Prabhupada said, no, don't do it. So if they were to copy what their godbrothers did, they'd be disobeying Prabhupada. So I think that's an important point. It's not like you can mechanically force your way into taste. It has to come as a byproduct of pleasing Guru and Krishna. But again, I think it's important to recognize that if we don't have a taste, it's a sign there's a problem. Something's wrong in how we're thinking, or something's wrong in what we're doing. Another way you get a taste is by giving Krishna consciousness, giving the holy name to other people. So not only keeping it for yourself, but instructing others, teaching others about the holy name, introducing people who don't know about Krishna consciousness to Krishna consciousness, the holy name. This gives pleasure. When you're giving the name, it gives pleasure to the name. And if the name's pleased with you, you're going to have a very special relationship with it. So sometimes devotees would say, when I give Krishna consciousness, my rounds are always better. Another devotee told me when he reads, every day he reads Krishna book. So when he chants, he's much more absorbed because Krishna, his name and the Leela are the same. So he's more absorbed in the Leela. So those are some things that I was thinking about this morning that I did not plan to talk about, but it came to my mind that what I'm going to talk about cannot be the only way to get mercy. And I'm going to come to what we're going to talk about in a minute. We were reading last night, we were giving a class on forgiveness, and we were reading how Prabhupada said, Krishna is pleased when you're nice to devotees, when you're kind to people in general. Krishna really likes that. When you treat others with tolerance, with patience, kindness, Krishna is pleased. So if we act in ways which upset other people or upset devotees, and then we try to get the mercy of the holy name by trying to chant, it's a paradox, it's a contradiction. So we have to be aligned in everything we do. We can't just say, okay, I'm going to sit down and get mercy, and then when I finish chanting, I do things which are not Krishna conscious, or I criticize devotees, or I do something which would be displeasing to my spiritual master, to Prabhupada or Krishna. So it can't work that way. So when we're nice, when we're respectful, when we're not envious, when we're serving, when we're humble, Krishna is pleased. And whenever Krishna is pleased, then the chance of getting taste is always, when you chant, is going to be much higher than if we're doing things, obviously, which are doing things which are displeasing to Krishna. It's obvious that even though we're trying to get mercy, it's like we're throwing dirt, bathing, but throwing dirt on ourselves. So these are some things to think about. And then you have the 10 offenses, of course. We want to avoid those offenses. And most of those offenses are not committed while we're chanting. They're committed when we're not chanting. So probably one of the most difficult offenses, the one that's so common, is that we tend to criticize devotees. So that's something we have to be careful about. If we want to get the mercy of the holy name, then we cannot criticize the devotees who are preaching the holy name. Then the holy name is upset. He doesn't like us. So that's important. And that's a whole other class. But I just wanted to throw that out as there possible things we're doing that would separate us from getting mercy. So even though we're trying to improve our chanting, we may be doing other things on the side that are interfering with our mercy. If you have any questions, just you can ask them while I'm speaking, because sometimes I find it's better to answer the question while I'm talking, because we're in that specific context. And then when I finish and we go back, sometimes we lose the context, and then the power of the discussion is a little diversified, so to speak. What's dissipated? Dissipated is the word. Okay, so what I want to talk about, what I was thinking about, is something Jiva Goswami said, and Prabhupada also said this. He said, whenever you have a mantra, in order for that mantra to work when you chant it, you should be meditating on what that mantra means. It's not just that you just chant the mantra, but you need to meditate on the meaning. This is for any mantra, not just the holy name, Gayatri mantras, any mantra. And you find there's an album of Prabhupada's chanting, Chintamani Purushadamansu Kalpa Vriksha Lakshavriteshu Surabhi Labhipalyantam. So on that album, he's reading something or speaking or reading something from his guru. And he says, one of the things he says is you should enter into the meaning of the mantra. You should, when you're chanting it, you shouldn't just chant it. You should know what it means. And not only should you know what it means, you should enter into the meaning. So enter into the meaning means you should be feeling what it means, not only intellectualizing. They once brought the Gurukuli boys in front of Prabhupada, and all the Gurukuli boys started chanting, and they just chanted so many Bhagavad Gita verses. And then Prabhupada said, so what does it mean? And they're all looking at one another. Like, you know what it means? No, I don't know. You know, I don't know. They didn't know what it meant. And the Prabhupada said, no, this is not good. Of course, purifying, yes, to chant Sanskrit is purifying, but it's not, I don't want to say it's not perfect. I want to say it's not proper. No, we need to, it doesn't work the way it's meant to work unless we enter the meaning. So, of course, that brings into question, what does the Maha Mantra actually mean? And what does it mean to enter the meaning? Now, one of the things that I think is an obstacle for some of us, maybe not all, but a lot of times when we're trying to understand what something means, we're naturally trying to understand it intellectually. And the problem, it's not that that's wrong or bad, but there's a problem. It has to go further than intellect, because if I understand something intellectually, it doesn't mean I've actually understood it. It just means I understand it in theory, but it doesn't mean I have any experience of it. You know, it's like if you want to know about America, you could ask a devotee who's studied about America what it's like, or you could ask a devotee who's been to America or lives in America what it's like. And you would probably rather ask the person who's been there than just the one who's read it in a book. One who's read it in a book understands it in theory, but he has no experience. But the person who's been there say, tell me, really, what is it like to live in America? Is it better than Oman? Is it better than Sharjah? Is it really better than India? Is it really like it? Is it like it looks like in the movies? I mean, is everybody rich and the streets are paved with gold? And what does it feel like? And then that person can tell you, well, my experience is like this. So it's no longer just information. It's actually what is the experience. So when we say enter into the meaning, we have to take it on the level of experience. If the holy name means Krishna, please engage me in your service, then we have to ask ourselves, what is the feeling of that meaning? Because when you're chanting is a prayer. So if I give you a prayer, I say, Prabhu, Mataji, you should pray like this. Then you might think, okay, but I need to understand what is the mood of this prayer? How should I be feeling when I pray? Because you just don't want to come like a robot. My dear Lord, oh please, Lord of the universe, like a robot. If you come like that, obviously it doesn't work, right? It has to come from the frequency with which that prayer was composed, the mood of the person who composed the prayer. Well, you know, like Kunti says, I wish these calamities would happen again. It's like, why would anybody pray like that? That's strange. what is the mood? What is she feeling? And say, oh, she's feeling that every time there's a calamity, Krishna comes. And so Krishna's, to get to see Krishna, it's worth going through a calamity. So bring on the calamities because I get to see you. Oh, that's what she means. Now you understand it more than just intellectually. You understand what she's feeling. She's feeling like I get to see Krishna. Kunti Devi is praying, please sever my attachment to my sons. Then you're thinking, wait a minute, her sons are all devotees. Why would you want to sever your attachment to these Pandavas? It doesn't make any sense. Then as you study, you see, she's thinking, oh, my material, the way I'm connected materially, seeing them as my material sons, and that material attachment, I want to break that. Oh, okay. So now I understand the mood. If I were to pray that way to Krishna, please sever my attachments. Now I understand the feeling, so I could represent that prayer if I said it, because I would represent what she is feeling, and I would try to be feeling that or adopt that feeling. So that's what Prabhupada means when he says, enter into the mood. The other day, a devotee told me once, Kadambakananda Swami saw a devotee chanting, Hare Krishna, 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 like sometimes we chant, and it didn't look like the devotee was like actually chanting, it didn't look like Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. It looked like Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. He wasn't really chanting. So Kadambakananda Swami said, Prabhu, are you counting or are you chanting? Are you just counting or are you actually chanting? I like that one. I thought it was pretty funny. And exactly the point. Are you counting? Are you chanting or are you just counting? No, he said, no, this is what he said. Prabhu, are you chanting japa or are you counting japa? That's what he said. Yeah, that's a good t-shirt. Are you chanting japa or are you counting japa? So if you're counting japa, then that means counting japa means you're no longer connected with the meaning. You're no longer connected with the emotional. You're not emotionally connected to your chanting. You're just counting. You're counting japa. And a lot of us end up just counting japa and we think, well, counting japa is good. Better than not counting japa. Better than counting the number of likes I get on Facebook. At least I'm counting japa. Okay. You can say that, at least you're doing it, but it's like, I don't know, it's kind of like you're reading a book, 10 pages. You're reading 10 pages of Bhagavatam every day. And while you're reading it, you're just counting the pages. You don't even care. Vaiseshika Prabhu said, page by page, become a sage. Read 10 pages a day, 20. That's what I'm doing. I read 10 pages a day. And I'm focused on the pages. What did you read? I don't know, but I read 10. I got through 10. Vaiseshika Prabhu said, 10 pages. You should read 10 pages. I'm reading it. You remember anything? No, but I read 10 pages. Something like that. When your mind's disturbed and you read, you don't remember because you're reading the words, but you're not thinking the words, you're thinking the thoughts in your head. So, how good are you going to do on your final exam, right? So it's a similar thing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about one thing Prabhupada said about the holy name, which I think will help us. And this is being broadcast on the Facebook page also, right? Your Facebook page, yeah. Because we have over 100 participants. You have 100, it caps at 100, right?
Yes, and but it's on your page also now?
Oh, it's on my page, okay.
Yeah, it's there, yes.
Okay, thank you. So, one time Prabhupada said, as we know, the holy name means, the holy name has different meanings, but one time Prabhupada said the holy name means, Krishna, please engage me in your service. We've all heard that many times. So now my question is to you, and my question to myself at one point was, what is the emotional aspect of that understanding? when we're looking at prayer, as I said, we want to understand not just intellectually what it means, but what is the emotional, maybe the word is content, the emotional, what is that word I'm missing? Content is good, the emotion. What's the emotional content? What's the emotional makeup? You have the intellectual makeup, okay, understand philosophically, theoretically, and what is the emotional? What if I'm praying to Krishna, please engage me in your service? What is the emotional content of that? What am I supposed to be feeling? What is the feeling of that understanding? That's what I mean to say. What is the feeling behind the philosophy? Okay, so Prabhupada said, I'm gonna do a little exercise, and then I think it will help you because you can do this with so many aspects of philosophy. So Prabhupada said, Krishna, please engage me in your service. And then he went on to explain, what does this mean? He said, for so long I was engaged in Maya's service. And Maya has beaten me and pulverized me and pulled me and made me suffer. It didn't exactly say it that way, but basically, and I've suffered. And now I want to serve you, but I still have these samskars where I have these inclinations to serve Maya. So please don't let me serve Maya. Please let me serve you. You are the one I want to serve. I now understand I am your eternal servant, but I'm caught in this situation where I'm still trying to be happy materially. I'm still trying to enjoy materially. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be bound by these desires. I only want to serve you. So I'm praying, give me the strength to run from Maya. Give me the strength to run from you. Okay, so now, if you meditate, this is the word I was looking for, component. If you meditate on the emotional component of this, what is so good is that we all have experience emotionally of the pain of looking away from Krishna when we know we should be looking towards Krishna. We don't really experience the pain of looking away from Krishna as intensely as when we become devotees, because we know how sweet Krishna is and we want that so much. So it's much more painful to turn away. The pain we experience before we're devotees is just whatever pain comes from Rajaguna, some gratification, and then you suffer. But this also has a very deep psychological component to it, the pain of knowing that every time I look towards sense gratification, I'm creating greater distance in my relationship with Krishna. So it's very painful. And I think one of the most painful things I've ever experienced, and I think you'll agree, is when you know what to do and you do the exact opposite. When you say, I know I should do this, but I don't do it for this reason. Extremely painful. So the mood of that prayer is Prabhupada saying, Krishna, I want to serve you. I know I should serve you, but I have this strong inclination towards Maya. That's the component of that prayer. And so the feeling of that prayer is that frustration, that pain, that I turn away from you, that I have desires which go against bhakti. And these are conditioned desires, and I don't want them, and I don't want to act on them, but they're there. Krishna, please, please pull me out of this. I just want to be engaged in serving you. I want to be engaged in thinking about serving you. I want my heart to be fully engaged in thinking about your service. I don't want to be thinking about myself, my life, my sense gratification, my material this and material that. That's the emotional component of that. So every one of us has that experience. And that's why it's so easy to connect emotionally to the holy name, because emotionally we already have this experience. And this was the first thing that Prabhupada said the holy name means. What's interesting is that so many of us, when we chant, we don't have this emotional experience. We're just counting. And therefore we can say we haven't really understood what the Maha Mantra means if we're just counting japa, because we think if you get to 16, boom, the heavens open up and, all glory comes down, demigods shower flowers. You did 16 rounds. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's when you enter the mood, that's when the demigods shower flowers. So the reason I think it's so easy for us to not only understand this, but practice this is because this is our experience. Spiders, I have spiders all over my room. And spider bites all over my body. Hare Krishna. The spiders love me. I feed them prasadam every day. It's like blood prasadam. It's my Food for Life program here in Florida. Feed the spiders. So we have this experience. So if you understand, okay, the holy name means Krishna, I want to serve you. I'm tired of serving Maya. You know that verse, Katina, Katida, Dornidesha. I've been a menial servant of my senses, did whatever they asked me to for years, and still they're like really bad masters. They just keep punishing me, frustrating me, asking more. They're never satisfied. So we have that experience. So if we understand, that's what the holy name means. I'm praying to Krishna to counteract those samskaras and replace that with this desire only to serve you purely for your satisfaction. That's what I'm praying for. That's what I want. That's what I need. Then when you chant, it has this intense emotional component. And that's when you're going to start tasting, because now you've actually entered into the meaning. Whereas if you're just counting, then you haven't, like Prabhupada says, licking the bottle of the jar of honey, you're like on the outside. You're like, then you're thinking, I've heard the holy name is sweet, and, I see when Govinda chants, he's relishing, but I'm just not tasting. It's probably because you're just counting japa rather than chanting japa. So that's, maybe not the only answer, but that's kind of the answer I wanted to. How long are we going? Are we going till for an hour or longer than an hour?
We have time. It's just about 35 minutes past 8 p.m. here. So we've got a lot of time, yeah.
You've got all night.
We can. You can go on as long as you want.
Yeah. Well, if anyone has any questions on this, please ask, because this was, and I can talk a little more about the meaning, but I think it's significant that Jiva Goswami has mentioned this in any mantra, whatever the mantra is. The basic element is connection with the meaning. And in my experience of teaching japa, I found this is a big problem, that we might understand the meaning, but when we're chanting, we're not connected with the meaning. We're more connected with it, like maybe ritualistically or externally. And what I find so important is that the meaning that I described is what we all experience. It's not like you have to look for that. It's not like you ask me, how do I feel that? You know how to feel that, because that's kind of how we feel at every moment. I'm stuck here in the material world. I want Krishna. And I find there's this part of me that doesn't want him. And it's disturbing me. And I'm praying, Krishna, just like, could you just remove these obstacles? Because this is really getting in the way. One time, Sasrup Maharaj asked Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, we hear about Krishna, and Krishna's so beautiful and he's so attractive, and we're still not attractive. I don't understand why. How could that be? And Prabhupada said, because you hate Krishna. Whoa. It's like, Indra just threw his thunderbolt. But that's kind of what we're confronting. Why do I feel this way? Because you're envious of Krishna. We don't feel like we hate Krishna. We don't feel like we're envious. But somewhere in there, in our system, it's there. And the proof that it's there is, look in the mirror, you have a material body. You wouldn't have, I wouldn't have, we would not have bodies if we didn't have some envy left, some hatred. So it's a reality, and we're confronted with the reality, and we can use that experience, those emotions connected with the frustration of that conditioning and overcoming it, and finding myself critical and finding myself envious and finding myself desiring things I don't need and trying to outdo others and put myself as number one. All these conditioned desires, when we see them, it's frustrating because we know it's wrong. And those are the things that are getting in the way of our relationship with Krishna. And so when we're chanting, we're praying, Krishna, remove those. I'm tired of serving Maya. I don't want it, but this heart keeps pulling towards me. Now, Rabindra Sarup, my heart keeps, Maya keeps pulling my heart towards her. I don't want it. I'm frustrated. It's making me miserable. I just want you. We have that experience. So if you take that experience into the holy name, that's exactly what it means. Krishna, please, 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 please. I just want to be a pure devotee. I don't want to serve Maya anymore. I'm finished. I'm frustrated. That's why we became devotees. So the very reason we became devotees is what the Maha Mantra means. And we naturally feel it. So instead of counting your japa, you bring that feeling in the holy name, and then you're there. You're right there with what it means on the emotional level. So once Ravindra Swarup Prabhu was saying he was raised in a military family. So he knows a lot about military. And he said, sometimes when I'm chanting, well, in the military, they have, what do you call them? Maybe somebody knows. Like those laser, maybe it's lasers. So, they put a laser in a spot and that's what you're supposed to bomb, that spot. So first, those who are doing strategic planning, they show this is the spot, and then the bombers, the planes come in, or however they're going to be bombed. They come in and they attack that point. So he said, I sometimes think in military analogies. So he said, sometimes when I'm chanting, I'm looking at my anarthas and I'm putting the laser beam on the anartha and I'm saying, Krishna, can you bomb that anartha? Hare Krishna, Krishna, this one. Envy, can you bomb that? Hare Krishna, Krishna. Pride, it's right there. I'm putting the light in, can you bomb it? So it's if you feel the pain of your own anartha and you're praying to Krishna through the holy name to remove that, that's the meaning. You've entered into the meaning of the holy name. That's what it means. It doesn't mean, Prabhu, what does the holy name mean? It means 16 rounds, somehow or other, by hook or by crook. Get them done, and get them done fast. No, that's not what it means at all. Get them done fast, then you'll have more time for Facebook. That's the problem, right? Get your rounds done fast, Prabhu, gives you more time for Maya. No, that's not what we want. So that's the idea, that it's japa, chanting, or kirtan. It's a prayer session. It's allowing Krishna to come in and do some surgery, and you just tell him where it hurts. All right, it hurts here. Can you take that out? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, please. I don't want this anymore. I have this desire. I can't get rid of it. It keeps bothering me. Can you explode it? Can you drop a bomb on it? This is like a persistent problem. I don't want it. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I just want purity, purity. Now, there are higher levels of chanting for sure. There's deeper chanting when you want to go into understanding more about your relationship, meditating on the qualities of Krishna, the Leelas, and so many things. I'm not saying this is the only way. This is one way, but this is one of the, I'm just saying this is one of the easiest ways because this is our experience, isn't it? Isn't this our experience? Isn't this how we feel? Yes? Don't we all feel like this? And isn't it frustrating to feel this way? How frustrating is it when you know you shouldn't do something and you do it? How can you enjoy doing something you know you shouldn't do? It's like total mode of ignorance, pain and pleasure mixed up at one time. Isn't it? Huh, Haji?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the mode of ignorance. You get pain and pleasure at the same time. In passion, you get pleasure then pain. In sattva, you get pain then pleasure. But in ignorance, it comes together. You're doing something you know you shouldn't do. I'm eating this, food. Doctor told me if you eat like this, you're going to die tomorrow. And I'm eating it. And it tastes so good. But I feel so guilty because I'm probably going to die tomorrow. So there's pain and pleasure mixed up at the same time. That's tamagun. So that pain that you feel in the material world, that pain becomes your, like, energizes your japa. Krishna, I don't want to do these stupid things anymore. So don't shy away from feeling it, because it can, any recognition of your anartha and the pain that goes with it just becomes an inspiration in your chanting to pray to overcome it. Like, what are you supposed to pray for? You're supposed to pray for to overcome all the things that get in the way of your bhakti, right? Isn't it? So, and so it's I think japa, like that, getting a taste, that's one of the best ways to get a taste. It's very absorbing. Once we were doing a japa meditation, and I was telling the devotees, think of your biggest obstacle, like the biggest problem, the biggest problem between you and Krishna, like that one thing that's so much getting in the way of your relationship with Krishna, that if that one thing were not there, you would go back to Godhead like a rocket ship. It'd just be straight. You'd be like driving in Delhi at 2:30 a.m. No cars on the road. What is it? No obstacle. What is that biggest obstacle? So everybody thought, and I said, okay, now chant japa and pray to overcome that obstacle. So everyone was chanting, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Hare Krishna, Krishna, thinking of this obstacle. And I said, do you want to stop chanting now? And everybody said, no, I need more time to work on this obstacle. So then we went on a little more. Okay, it's a half hour. You want to stop chanting? No, I need more time to work on this obstacle. This thing is deep. This thing has been there for since time immemorial. I need more time. So what we were finding was, when you start working that way on your anarthas, very clearly isolating what they are, and you start chanting, praying to overcome them, it's like you just want to keep chanting and chanting and chanting, because you realize this is going to take a lot of work to overcome this. This is a big problem. I need to chant more. I need to chant more. I once asked Borijan Prabhu, I said, why does Mahaprabhu say when you're humble, you can chant 24 hours a day. You'll never stop. He says, because when you're humble, you realize how much help you need. Like when you're proud, you think, hey, everything's fine. I'm great. I've got everything under control. But when you're humble, you realize, I don't have anything under control. I need help. So he said, if you're actually humble, you'll feel that you need help. And if you feel that you need help, you'll have to keep chanting, because chanting is what's going to help you. So as long as you feel you need help, you keep chanting. Hare Krishna, I need help. Hare Krishna, I can't stop chanting. I need too much help. So we found that to be true. When you're focused on something that's really a big problem for your bhakti, and you start chanting, you kind of just want to keep chanting all the time, because I need help with this. This is a big problem. I don't know if I could stop chanting now. So that's another way we've seen to get some attraction for chanting, just to realize how much you need it to solve specific problems in your bhakti. And so it makes it easier to chant, because the more you chant, the more there's a chance you'll overcome that problem. So if you also wanted to talk about attraction for hearing, in my experience, aside from just the obvious answer, is read more and you'll become attracted, which is, the answer for anything. How do I become attracted to this? Well, do it more. But that's sometimes not the answer we're looking for, because we kind of understand that. But you might say, but I do it and I'm still not attracted. Well, I have a story for you. Interesting story. You'd like to hear a story? I know you like stories.
Yes.
I know you like stories. So I was in Vrindavan sometime in the 90s, or about 96 or 97. And at that time, there were some influences from outside of ISKCON, very strong influences. Some good and some complicated. I don't want to say bad per se, because it wasn't bad per se. It just became complicated when it entered ISKCON, and then it didn't always have a good effect. But from the outside, there was a lot of very, I'll just say, Harikatha, very intimate Leela about Krishna, a very sweet nectarian Leela about Krishna that was coming. And every class, there was like this very high katha, you know, Krishna and Radha this, and Mother Yasoda this, and all these stories. And I never heard anything. I was thinking, what is going on here? You know, it's like, this is, you know, we should be more philosophical. And I was thinking like that. Anyway, I'm gonna move over, then you can see Prabhupada better. Right, okay. So anyway, I was not actually that attracted. It was just, this doesn't seem right. I mean, I know the Leelas are attractive, but I don't know, it didn't seem right to me. And then one day we went on Govardhan Parikrama. And after Govardhan Parikrama, I became extremely attracted to hearing all those Leelas. I was like, where are they? Give me the books, where are they? I would just sit down and read. And I couldn't, previous to that, I tried to read them and it was kind of like trying to glue something to a piece of wood that's got, you know, oil on it or something. It's just like, it wasn't sticking. It was like, I was just not interested in it. And after I did Govardhan Parikrama, I was like, I couldn't get enough of it. I was thinking, this is really interesting. And so the obvious realization was that the level of attraction we have to hearing, aside from depending on just regularly hearing, so we naturally start to develop a taste, is just our own level of purity in Krishna consciousness. As we work on purifying ourselves, we're naturally going to become more attracted to hearing, because the sign of purity is you become more attracted to Krishna. Now, I think also the problem for some of us is we just have a hard time sitting down in one place. You know, like a lot of us are active, got to move around, got to do things. You know, I can't just read. You know, like, so that's okay. Then, you know, listen to audio. There's a website now called Bhaktivedanta. I think it's called Bhaktivedanta Library Services, or Bhaktivedanta Vedic Library. All the books, all the purports are there, recorded in recordings. So I think that's also a problem for some of us. It's just like hard to sit and read in one place. For me, that's not a problem, but I can see like for other devotees, it's like my daughter, she says when she's listening right now in quarantine, she's like all day she's listening to lectures. And she said, but I can't just sit, I have to do something. So she's doing embroidery. She's doing Mendi, so I have to do something. So we all have different natures, so whatever it is, then hear the books. You can hear the books if you want. I think somebody's coming in my office now. And it looks like my daughter, and she doesn't know I'm giving class. Oh, you'll get to see my daughter. She's going to ask me for money. I don't know. What do daughters do? They ask for money, right? Let's see what she asks for. Maybe she's going to live a long time. We were talking about her. Hold on a second. Don't go away. Don't stop what you're doing. I just have to see. Oh, I'm giving class right now. Oh, please. You want to come in?
I will wait.
No, it was my dear godbrother Havi. It wasn't my daughter, so I don't have to spend money. Yeah. This is Oman. We're in Oman now. Wow. Oman ki jai. So yeah, they can all see you in the back. You want to?
Oh, where should I?
No, it's perfect. Perfect. Yeah. So we were talking about how you get a taste for hearing, and you know, your level of purity is going to determine your taste, and also your taste for other things is going to affect your taste. Like, so that's also a problem. What do you want to hear about? What do you want to watch? What do you want to, what are you hearing? What are you reading? What are you doing? That's going to affect it. Correct? Correct? I have to draw this. This is my natural lighting system. Much light. Hare Krishna. Okay, so why don't you ask some questions? I think we need to leave enough time for questions. You're also shy.
One thought I had was that the kind of issues that most people struggle with during japa can also be like sattvic japa, rajasic japa, and
Yeah.
tamasic japa.
Totally, totally. I have a little mantra. All your problems, every problem you have in life is either coming from Rajas or Tamas. That's where all the problems exist. They don't exist in Sattva. They exist in Rajas and Tamas. And japa is a very sattvic, japa is very sattvic activity. So if you're not sattvic when you chant, it's very difficult. But in general, anything you're doing in bhakti, if you're doing it in Rajas or Tamas, you're going to have trouble. It's going to be a problem for you, for sure. Guaranteed.
And
Yes.
so that was from my side. And so another question may not be exactly pertaining to this, but because people have different understandings of the absolute truth, if somebody is very influenced by Advaita philosophy of Adi Shankara, and let's say Krishna consciousness is explained to them, or how likely or what are the difficulties that they might face in chanting Hare Krishna?
It's going to be different for every person. It's difficult to say because I don't know them. I need to be with them. But in general,
Yes.
the general difficulty is going to be just accepting that the unlimited Supreme can have a personal form, and that personal form is not limited. What to speak of a personal form of a cowherd boy? That is that same Brahman in the form of a cowherd boy. That could be a challenge. But you know what's interesting? What Prabhupada says in the Gita, he said, sometimes people are afraid of the personal form of God because of their bad experiences in the material world, in personal relationships. So they take the personal experience in this world, the frustration with it, and say, I don't want personal experience. And then they don't want a personal relationship with God. So sometimes that comes up as a problem.
And so,
what would you say? What would you say? What would you tell that person? I'm not dealing with so many people like that lately. So I'm going to ask you what you would say.
actually, somebody asked me this question that how is it even possible that somebody can have different understandings of the absolute truth? And I referred some verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam and the second chapter of the Gita, also the Vadanti Tattva Vidas verse.
Yes.
Because without understanding the personal, having some acceptance of the personal conception of the Lord, it's just not possible to relate on the level that we are trying and we just discussed. And also the fact is that they have so much disinterest in even accepting to chant. It's a very big obstacle. Though I found that the practice of the Shankarites is quite different from what the people, what Adi Shankara actually said. So it's the pure Advaita philosophy is very different. So since this has been going on, I introduced it in this way. But that is, I hope, an answer to Rupa Mataji of some kind. And another question she has is, it's not connected
Well,
with
let me say something first. I read something the other day, quite interesting. was a discussion with Prabhupada about chanting Om, about some people chanting Om. And he said, Om is Krishna. So if they want to chant Om, that's fine. Let them chant Om, because Om is not impersonal, although they may see it impersonally, but Om is actually Krishna. So maybe you have to encourage them to chant Om. But also, you know, one answer is you can't look at the Supreme the way you look at something material. So you're analyzing it according to your limitation, thinking God is this or not this. That doesn't work. You have to hear from acharyas. A lot of times, there was once a lecture, some devotee was asking Prabhupada, you know, how is it like this? There's a sun god and a chariot, and they travel around the universe. And Prabhupada said, why are you asking that question? And the devotee said, well, Srila Prabhupada, that's really hard to believe. And Prabhupada said, who are you? You're just like one tiny entity on one tiny planet in one of unlimited numbers of universes. What do you know? So sometimes we have to be a little humble, you know, like really, what do we know? And what do you really know about God? And what is your experience? It's very limited. And so you take that limited experience and you try to apply it on transcendence. It doesn't work. It's just a mess. So I think it's an important distinction for people to make. My perception is quite limited. My experience is quite limited. And when I apply that limited experience and perception onto the Supreme, I'm obviously going to limit him and misunderstand him. And then I kind of paint myself into a corner, and then I end up talking myself out of doing something spiritual that I should be doing on the basis of some material logic that it's not necessary or not good, or, you know, if God's a person, then why this and why that, and how could it be like this and how could it be like that? It's all material thinking. And then it doesn't do you any good. And then the other thing I would say, which is kind of a general answer, well, sir, look at your life now. I mean, are you okay? Are you happy? Is everything good? Because if you're following this spiritual process and you're still looking for something and you're still frustrated, I mean, like, are you perfectly controlling your mind and senses? Are you satisfied? Are you peaceful? Is your family happy? This and that. Because if that's not the case, then your spiritual approach must not be working. But for us, we've found it. So we're just offering that to you. So that's also another approach. Okay, you had something else.
This was a question again by one of our members. It's not related to this exactly, but should I ask?
You're in charge. I'm just.
It's about.
You tell me.
So she wanted to know about your understanding about Tattvam Asi.
The Vaishnava understanding? Yeah, I'm a servant of Krishna. That's what it means. I am God, you are God, except I understand what it means that I'm God. I'm just a little God. I'm not the big God, I'm the little God, the little drop. Tattvam Asi. I'm also spiritual, you're spiritual. Once at the beginning of the movement, Jodi asked Prabhupada a question. It's like, so Srila Prabhupada, like, what's Krishna consciousness in a nutshell? And Prabhupada said, God is great. You are not great. Therefore, you are not God. Because he was preaching to so many hippies, like impersonalists. So it was like, you know, so a lot of times when he's preaching, he would like read in behind the lines of what's going on in their mind. Well, Giriraj Swami was asking Prabhupada that question, impersonalism, you know, because he read so many spiritual books. Is it impersonal, God impersonal, or God personal? What's higher, what's lower? And Prabhupada said, you have to decide, what do you want? You want to become God or you want to serve God? And then Giriraj Swami was like shocked, and he started thinking, and he said, actually, I realized I wanted to become God. Like Prabhupada hit it on the head. He just like hit the target. He knew. So Prabhupada sometimes just actually knew the context of a person's thinking and just hit it on the head. You want to stay? Okay. I don't want to like bore you or anything.
How can listen to you is boring? It's not boring at all.
Okay.
Okay. Can you put the question?
So
That's
yeah.
a good thing. That's a good thing. Say, well, you want to become God or you want to love God. You have to decide.
So
We're trying to make that. Yeah, okay. We have some.
I feel that some of the questions that some have asked are already answered by you.
So let's
So,
take that.
So this question is, how can one be fixed? How can he fix? How can we fix our mind during chanting japa? That we have to please Krishna during japa, devotional service, preaching, and our daily life. So, but because the mind is not very stable. That's
And this is from Kanakanga Chaitanya Prabhu.
Don't try to fix your mind. Try to fix your heart.
okay.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I think on the Harinam Chintamani or Jaiva Dharma, he asked to pose the question. He said, how do you control your mind during japa? And he said, it's not possible. It's like, how do you control your mind, how do you control your mind? Eat ice cream, you'll be fixed on ice cream. Eat pizza, you'll be fixed on pizza. That's how you control your mind, with sense gratification. But you actually think about it, I'm going to sit down and control my mind. It's almost like, yeah, good luck. Who are you trying to fool? But if you enter into the mood of feeling, Krishna, I have this problem. What's my problem? I want to be you and I want to enjoy like you. But at the same time, I want to love you. So I have a problem. Can you help me with this problem? And to the degree that you want help, to that degree, your japa will intensify because it'll be a prayer. So you don't have to worry about controlling your mind at that point because you're already out of your mind. Now you're into the actual essence of the holy name and that connection. Whereas if it's just, I'm just going to try to control my mind, all I can say to you, Prabhu, is good luck. Right? But Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, no, you can control your mind by the mercy of the Guru. But my experience has been that when you connect with the meaning on an emotional level, so that you're actually feeling, then that's where all the magic happens. And so then maybe the proper question is to ask, how can I feel that? To which I would say, as I said before, but you already do feel it. You just have to recognize that you feel it. That you want to connect with Krishna, but there's so many things getting in the way. And the things that are getting in the way are causing you pain because the biggest pain is to be separated from Krishna. So the thing that you like, if that thing is getting in the way between you and your relationship with Krishna, then the paradox is that thing you like is actually your biggest enemy. And it's causing you the greatest pain. And when you realize that, then when you chant that Krishna, please help me overcome this thing I like because it's getting in the way. So if you get on that level of emotional intensity, you don't have to worry about your mind. Your mind will not even be a problem. Because emotion is a subtle aspect of thinking. And when the emotion is strong, the thinking, you don't need to think. You're doing everything emotionally. And when you stop that emotional connection with the holy name, that's when you start thinking, I have to do this today, I have to do that today. That's when all the thoughts come, when the emotional tendency, the emotional intensity is weak, that your mind starts chatter, 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 isn't it? It's just like I say, let's say your husband goes away and then he's in lockdown and you don't see him for like 3 months, right? And then he finally comes back, he's at the airport. It's high emotion. What are you thinking? You're not even thinking, you're just feeling, isn't it? How do I control my mind when my husband comes? You're just like, you're focused, you're locked because the emotion's so strong. So if you can bring that emotion into your japa, then the mind just goes along. That's my experience. The thing is, I don't think it's a good idea to invest all our japa energy into trying to control our mind. By the time you finish japa, you'll have to take a nap because you'll be exhausted. It's like, isn't it? I finished my rounds. How do you feel? I have to lay it down. It's like all my energy went into trying to control my mind. You know, why don't you put all your energy into praying and connecting with Krishna emotionally? Then it's like it's so much easier and it's natural. That's my whole point. It's natural. It's so unnatural for us to try to this thought, bring it back, that thought. Oh, you shouldn't be thinking like that. So what are you going to do during japa? Have a broom and a shoe? You know, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. That's not the process. The process is if you, but so anyway, you can experiment with this. If you enter in, what does the mantra mean? Enter into that mood and see what happens to your mind. Your mind will enter into the mood through the emotions. That's my experience. Govinda agrees. Govinda, you agree? Govinda, speak to us. Say some words of wisdom.
Yes, Maharaj. It's your blessing, the meditation. You have taught so much to bring a complete change in the way we approach the holy name. So I bow down to your.
Hare Krishna. I didn't want you to.
No, Maharaj, it's true. It's a 360 degree of change since I started applying hearing more and more about it. I agree.
Yeah.
And mind has no role so long you focus on, you shift your focus.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So the next question, Maharaj, is that many is from Atul Agarwal, that many executives, because they travel extensively related to their work, so they're in different time zones. So how can we maintain a specific discipline to chant?
Yes. I have a story. So, not a devotee, a student was taking a writing class, and writers have this thing called writer's block. You sit down in front of your keyboard and you just stare at it, you stare at the screen, and you go blank. So the student said, how do you get the inspiration to write? And the professor, he thought about it for a moment because it caught him off guard. And the reason it caught him off guard is he's always inspired to write. So he didn't know how to answer the question. And then he answered, he said, I don't know how not to write. Like, that's not part of my reality. I don't know how not to write. I'm always inspired to write. And so we want to come to that level with japa. Like, how do you chant 16 rounds? I don't know how not to chant 16. I don't know how do you not chant 16? I don't know how to do that. I've never done that. You want to come to that point where that becomes a part of who you are, part of your being. So no matter how you travel, what schedule are you on, it's ingrained in your psychological program, and then you'll figure out how to do it. You won't be able to figure out how not to do it. That's the point you want to come to. And then that solves the whole problem. And I think for many, many devotees, not only with their rounds, but for many things, it's so deeply programmed in that if you say, how do you chant 16? They'll say, I don't know how not to. I've never done that because they programmed it in so deeply. So that would be my suggestion, that it has to become a vow that's so deeply programmed that it just happens. You just get it done somehow or other. Does that make sense? Or you want more details?
I think we will take the
Like Prabhupada. Okay, here's Prabhupada's, one of Prabhupada's answers to this question. Do you find time to eat?
Yeah, that's,
Yes. Do you find time to sleep? Yes. Okay, so that's the answer. But you don't find time to chant. Do you find time to do the things you like? Yes. So you program that japa is so important that you do it. There's a god brother of mine, Bhaktidas, and he wasn't chanting his rounds. He was chanting half his rounds. And Prabhupada, when Prabhupada came to Los Angeles, several times Prabhupada asked, is anyone not chanting their rounds? I think Prabhupada knew some people weren't. And he asked that question. And Bhaktidas said, I'm not chanting my rounds. Prabhupada said, why are you not chanting? He said, well, Prabhupada, before you were coming, we just bought the temple, we're fixing it up. So we wanted to fix it up before you came. So I was working all day, and I've only been sleeping 4 hours a night, and then working to get this done before you come. There's been no time to chant. And Prabhupada said something, I don't know if Prabhupada meant it practically, but it was a principle. He said, then chant 2 hours, but finish your rounds. Then I heard a story Hansaduta told. Hansaduta is my first temple president. He just passed away. And he said that one time he was so busy as Prabhupada's secretary or servant, they were doing so much, he didn't have time to chant. And Prabhupada said, it's an emergency. You don't have to chant. He gave him that, like for a few days, whatever. So that's a rare situation. But the normal situation, Prabhupada would say, so you have time to eat, you have time to sleep. So you have to make it has to become so important for you that no matter what your schedule is, where you're traveling, it'll just happen. You figure, when you travel, you figure out how to eat, isn't it? No matter what, you'll figure it out. You'll figure out how to sleep, so you'll figure out how to chant. It has to become that important. And, we have to understand the importance. One time, Prabhupada asked Hansaduta, he said, why do you read my philosophy? And Prabhupada said, no. He said, it's to chant Hare Krishna. Read my books to chant Hare Krishna, to understand the importance of chanting Hare Krishna. And then a few months ago, I was reading something, I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, it was interesting. That offense where you shouldn't blaspheme the Vedic literature, he explained that every Vedic literature is glorifying the holy name. So if you blaspheme any Vedic literature, any Purana, any Itihasa, anything, you're actually blaspheming the holy name, because the essence of the Vedas is teaching about the holy name. First verse of Bhagavatam, last verse of Bhagavatam, it's all about chanting. Isn't that interesting? Like underneath it all. So when you understand that, then you impregnate that deeply, and then you do it. And then one day you'll say, when someone will ask you, how do you chant 16? You say, I don't know. I can't tell you. I don't know how not to do it. That's the answer you want, right?
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
So then we have another question. How by Radhe?
No, from Srisha Kalyan.
Sorry, Radhe.
Srisha Kalyan.
Okay, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so there is a question, how to maintain a prayerful mood throughout the japa?
Because sometimes Vaisheshika Prabhu, when people ask him, what does the holy name mean? He says, it means I need help. And then he says, you need help? And they say, yeah, I need help. So I would say the answer to the question is, how could you not maintain a prayerful mood? Because we all need help. And the holy name is going to help you more than anything. So anything you want in Krishna consciousness, this is how I think. Anything I want in Krishna consciousness, ultimately I'm going to get it through the holy name. So what is it you want? One time, Prabhupada said, Prabhupada told Girasham, he said, when you chant Hare Krishna, you're calling Krishna, because you're saying, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And I say, Krishna comes. So Krishna's there, you don't see him, but Krishna comes and he says, so what do you want? You're calling me, you must want something. What is it? What do you want? So Prabhupada said, when you're chanting, you ask Krishna through the holy name, what do you want? Krishna, please help me this way or that way. So in chanting that mood, in focusing on what is it that I want, what is it that I want to overcome, naturally that prayerful mood will be there, especially if what you're asking for is really meaningful for you, and what you want to overcome is causing you pain, then naturally there'll be the prayer. Does that make sense? The more you want something, the more you need it, the more you recognize you need it, the more you'll pray for it. The more you don't want something, the more you realize it's a problem, the more you'll pray to overcome it. This is like in many classes I've asked devotees, what is your number one problem? Number one, numero uno problema. Is that right?
Yes.
Número uno. ¿Qué es?
¿Cuál es
¿Cuál es
el problema?
el problema número
Número uno.
uno? What is your number one problem? And so we think, it's pride, it's desire for money, sex, envy, whatever it is. And very specific. And then I'd ask him, I said, like, do you meditate on this? Do you pray for this? Is this something you're like concerned about? And a lot of people say, no, I never really thought like that. That's a problem. We have to think, if that's an obstacle, that's like the number one, we have to be conscious. Oh, this is something that's really blocking me. So when I chant, naturally that's on my mind. I need to overcome this. Right? And so when you realize how big of a problem it is, then you realize on an emotional level how important it is to overcome. And then that you enter that more prayerful mood, more intensified prayer when you chant. Is that okay? Okay? Correct? Satya hai. Satya hai. It's like clear down. Satya hai. True? Truth?
Prabhu says, asks how to sustain the quality of sadhana over a period of time, to be consistent. Because it seems that for him, he's expressed that how it slowly can deteriorate. And then again, the next day, it's the same cycle. So it's kind of a cycle of struggling to maintain consciousness. And so,
Sometimes good?
yes,
He's saying it's sometimes good and sometimes not good?
not so,
Roller coaster?
yes.
Roller coaster bhakti? Also known as yo-yo bhakti? I also call it la-di-da bhakti. La-di-da means that I don't care. Look
Ladida,
that up.
ladida.
La-di-da bhakti. La-di-da. But la-di-da in British is different than American. La-di-da. La-di-da is more like la 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 la. Yeah, I don't care. Okay, I'm going to say something he didn't expect me to say. Look, I have a question for him, and it's just a suspicion, but I could be 100% wrong, but I'll ask anyway. Does he have this same experience in material life? Like he's really into something, and then he's kind of not into it. And then he gets back into it and not into it. So we should first determine that if it's actually just his nature, and it has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. It's just his nature. He tends to be into something for a while, and then like practice something and stop. I'm reading this book, then stop. I'm getting up at this time every day and then stop. So ask him if that's, or he's listening. Is he listening now?
If you're there, sorry, Rajan Prabhu, please, you can speak.
Tell us.
Hare Krishna, Dandar Pranam Prabhu.
Hari bolo.
Please accept our obeisances.
Jai, Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you read my mind. I think, it looks like even for a materialistic, materialistic life, I think I may have the similar challenge. And
Yeah.
I'm worried that, it comes to the spiritual,
Yeah.
process as well.
Yeah, it's true. You have yo-yo Shakti. We'll rename you Yo-Yo Shakti. Your wife can call you Yo-Yo Shakti, and that will remind you. This is so interesting. This is so interesting. I gave a course years ago on how our psychology affects our chanting. So I think it's an important principle that when you're looking at a problem, you want to first ask, is it actually a spiritual problem, or is it a material problem? Is it an emotional problem? Is it a psychological, mental problem, or a spiritual problem? And so the best answer for you would be to look in how to resolve this on the material level, and it will probably then resolve on the spiritual level. as you become more steady in everything you do, you'll become naturally, you'll learn that skill, how to be steady, then you'll take it into your spiritual life. A lot of times we're trying to solve a problem with the shloka, but the problem is not shloka solvable because it's emotional or psychological. So I have a I have a little mantra: don't throw shlokas at emotional problems. And sometimes we throw, get all the shlokas, we like fire shlokas or with a gun. Sarvadharma, put it. What about this shloka? We're firing shlokas, but that's not the problem. It's not a spiritual problem. It's a material problem. So I would look on that level first of how to solve that, instability. Now, you could go to the Shastra and say, well, I read Vishwanath Chakravarti, Madhurya Kadamba. He talks about in bhakti, you also go up and down. It's also due to the fact that we have these anarthas and we give in to them. We just allow them to control us. And then we say something like, oh, I'm just weak. What can I do? They got the best of me. So that's part of it, But personally, this is how I personally feel. I feel like Maya, Maya's looking at us and Maya tricks us and then she laughs at us and goes, hey, I got you on that one. So I was telling the devotees, I said, Maya's laughing at you because she's tricking you all the time. Well, she may be tricking you, or when she tricks you, she's laughing. I said, it's better you laugh at her, saying, haha, I know your tricks, I'm not going to fall for that. So I said, either she'll laugh at you or you'll laugh at her. So who's going to laugh at who? You decide. If you understand, where there's a weakness, you kind of just give in. Actually, I was really sinful before I became a devotee. Must have been a monkey or a gorilla in my last life. I don't know, in this life, I'm going to be Krishna conscious. And I have all these excuses, like I was going to write a book, 108 excuses why I can't be Krishna conscious. And we just go down the list of all these excuses we make. And it's going to start, each sentence is going to say, oh, Prabhu, you don't realize how much, and then the excuse. Oh, Prabhu, you don't realize how many times, And so, it's like, okay, you just talk yourself out of going back to Godhead. Like, what's the point? Isn't it? So that's something also to look at, because I find that when you're determined, then the excuses come and immediately go, that is Maya trying to pull the wool over my eyes, and I'm not going to let her do it. And so I always felt, maybe I have a big false ego, but I never wanted to be defeated by Maya. And I thought, I can't be defeated by Maya because Prabhupada told me exactly what Maya does. It's not like I don't know. It's not like I didn't see her coming. It's just like close my eyes, that's all. Put my head in the sand. So I always felt like, how can I lose when Prabhupada's already told me all the weapons she uses, the direction she's coming from, how she fires them, and everything. So I just felt like, this is really bad. Prabhupada's given me all the ammunition I need to fight Maya. So I can't allow her to defeat me. So that's another thought for you. Maybe both thoughts will help. Is that okay?
Wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful, Maharaj. I feel that your faith in Srila Prabhupada and the other thing is that I also feel like you're a very expert physician here. And you've diagnosed other problems. So I'm sure it will help every one of us. Thank you. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Okay, so can we do the next question?
So we've got now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
We'll just choose. Okay, we'll just choose some.
Actually,
Well, can we save questions till we could do it again and we save these questions?
yeah. So
Can
okay.
we do one more?
Yeah, one more.
Because this will go on for like another yuga if we don't stop.
And
So,
then yeah. So we'll have to save.
and then we can book another time.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So Purva, which one?
If you can just scroll down.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop. So let me take this one. Some of us, this is from Amala Arjun Das. He says that some of us are chanting, but reading Shastra is difficult for them. How to convince them to read or hear regularly?
Well, I have something that might help. I'm going to throw it out and you can see. Long, long, long ago, well, not that long ago, maybe 20 years or 15 years, I wanted to record something, but I was so busy, I could never find time just to like go in and do it. And I was reading this article in a recording magazine, and this guy said, make an appointment with yourself. I said, okay. So every day, I said, once a week on Wednesdays at 11 o'clock, I have an appointment with myself to go in. And it actually worked. It's like, you know, if you have an appointment, you keep that appointment. So you need to make an appointment with yourself to read Prabhupada's books every day at a certain time. I have this appointment. Whether you want to do it, whether you don't want to do it, just do it. Or you can do it together in a group. You set a time. Okay, every day at this time, we're going to Zoom and we're going to read together. And you just do it. And that's where it begins. Sometimes that's all you can do is just do it. One of the things that I have done over the years that I found that's helped me a lot is I pose questions and then I go through the database to try to answer the questions. So it keeps me more interested in the material. So I'm going through, okay, like I was asking a question, maybe you know this answer. I was asking a question last night. We were reading Brihad Bhagavatamrita about Prahlad Maharaj and the Shringadev. And so I asked the question, didn't the Shringadev just appear for Prahlad Maharaj? Isn't Shringadev actually just Krishna in the form of anger appearing, or does he actually have a place where he remains after? Because I've heard both. So I was asking my daughter, she knows everything, but she didn't know. Not that she thinks she knows everything, but she hears a lot. So this morning, I was, online and looking in the folio and going online. And so when you have a question in your mind trying to answer, then it piques your interest or a particular topic. Like for example, once, excuse me, once I was really getting disturbed because there was a lot of this women are less intelligent thing. And I always said, no, my wife is very intelligent. And the proof that she's very intelligent is she was smart enough to pick me as her husband. So I couldn't believe that women were not intelligent because she made such an intelligent decision. That was just a joke. You can laugh. So I was, what did Prabhupada really say about women less intelligent? Or what did he say about less intelligent in general? It was really like it was bothering me because this topic keeps coming up. So I went to Prabhupada's books, database, and I put in less intelligent. And like 99.99% of the time, less intelligent came up in relation to people who don't surrender to Krishna. They're less intelligent. And the women less intelligent, that was like, it wasn't a big thing. And a lot of it is simply they didn't go to Gurukula, so they didn't have that education. So they didn't have that education that their husbands had who went to Gurukula. That was part of being less intelligent, so to speak. Anyway, but it just absorbed me. I'm going through Prabhupada saying this means less. If you don't surrender to Krishna, you're less intelligent. If you think you can enjoy in the material world, you're less intelligent. You think this will make you happy, you're less intelligent. You worship the demigods, you're less intelligent. And on and on and on. And it was so interesting to read it because it was so much on my mind. I just, I was so interested. So that's another thing. You grab your mind onto something that's of interest to you and then get the database on your computer and then you can study it. So that can get you reading more. And the other thing is find some books that are of interest to you. Or something or some chapter or some part. We should read systematically for sure, but now we have so many books. So there may be other books that interest you. Like the books of Satsvarup Maharaj, they're just full of Prabhupada quotes, but it's specific about a topic. So that may be a way, that I can read. I'm reading Prabhupada's books through another book. So those are some suggestions. can we stop now and then we can resume at a later date?
Yes,
Sure,
yeah.
sure,
So it's
Maharaj.
9:30 here, Maharaj.
Sure, Maharaj.
Yeah. You'll have to go to sleep.
So yes. So when can we possibly have? No, so a week from now or something.
Um, next Wednesday, no, we'll see. Why don't you just write me and then we'll figure out.
Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, that.
How often do you want me? And maybe once every few weeks, once a month?
Okay, that'll be wonderful. So
You were
we'll
trying to get me to come to Oman for so many years, come back to Oman for so many years. Here I am.
right.
How much cheaper on Zoom than it is on an airplane. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So you write me and then we'll figure it out.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
My pleasure.
Devacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Go, go, go.
Hare
go.
Krishna.
Okay, how do we get up? Okay, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave.